Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar, The Balancing Act, How to Be Business Efficient and Sustain the Environment. During this webinar, you can post your questions in the chat function as we will finish off with a Q&A session. This summer was one of the warmest in mankind's history. We are witnessing storms and hurricanes at a frequency like never before. On top of the climate challenges, biodiversity is under serious threat. According to UN, as much as around 1 million animal and plant species are threatened with extinction. To fulfill the Paris Agreement and UN sustainability target, it's of all our interest, but no one can solve these challenges on their own. We need to partner up and make a real difference. Our ambition today is to share how ViaCon can contribute in the areas of stormwater solution and more sustainable bridges and culverts. My name is Frida and I'm heading up the marketing and communications team. With me today, I have Aida Balash, Manager of ViaCon Middle East, Adam Sherpak, Product and Solution Director for Bridges and Culverts, Tony Larsson, Design and Development Director, Stormwater Solution, Essam Morsi, Product and Solution Director, Stormwater Solution, and here with me, our Chief HR and ESG Officer, Matthias Sakerud. Matthias, before we jump into solution, you often say that it has become business critical to be part of solving these challenges. How so?
Yes, it is business critical to the whole society actually, because there is no place to hide. The climate goals and the Paris Agreement must be fulfilled, and we already see the negative impact of the climate changes across the globe. The extreme drought and the fires in Central and South of Europe this summer is no exception to that. Our customers and partners, they need us, and many infrastructure companies get lots of expectations when it comes to sustainability and environmental questions and so on from governmental bodies and payers. And there is no way they can fulfill those expectations all by themselves. They rely on suppliers and niche players like ViaCon to make this journey. ViaCon believes in this, and I believe in this, and we have taken an active strategic choice to become a driving force of sustainability in our part of the industry. And we have determined to make a difference, and we have tangible solutions already.
Well, thank you, Matthias. Great to hear that we have tangible solutions for today. Do you have any good examples of the benefits it has given a region using these solutions?
Right, yeah. But the benefits differ depending on applications and how you use our solutions. For us, it's mostly about handling floodings, as most areas are getting paved in the cities and so on. It's more and more important to support our not seldom old sewage systems, which may lack a little bit capacity with other solutions and complement. There may also be a need for infiltration to avoid drought and other type of geotechnical issues. But I'm sure Essam and Tony, they can explain this much better than I do a bit later.
Well, thank you. And you will join us back in the sofa later on today.
I will. Thank you.
I think it's time to move into our stormwater solution. I know Essam and Tony has prepared to navigate us through our different types of solutions to the different types of needs, starting with the urban areas. Welcome, Essam and Tony. Essam, I would like to start with you. Can you tell us more about this?
Yes, of course we can, and thank you, Frida. But before I hand over to Tony, who will discuss the technical aspects of our solution, I would just like to underscore Matthias's message by highlighting a few key statistics. I think we can all agree water is the undisputed basis for all life on Earth and covers about 3/4 of our planet's surface. And of this, only 3% is fresh water. And of the 3%, only 1.2% can be used as drinking water. The rest is locked up in our atmosphere, in glaciers, or buried deep in the ground where we can't reach it. So consequently, our access to fresh, clean, healthy water has always been limited. Now, in recent years, unfortunately, due to climate change, our access has further been limited because climate change has disrupted the Earth's naturally oscillating water cycle, leading to longer and more extreme periods of drought and severe cases of flooding. So let's first take a look at the drought case, which is harmful for obvious reasons. Droughts are caused by a slowdown of released water from the atmosphere due to increased temperatures. This not only affects our wildlife, but can also lead to bottlenecks in our food supply. Tony, would you like to add anything?
Yes, sure, I can do that. Thank you. ViaCon, or we have an extensive and versatile corrugated steel product portfolio that offers sustainable, efficient, and economical solutions for water management. Some of these products are designed to store water for later use. For example, rainwater can be saved and used as process water for large factories. This would mean that during dry season, there would be more water available for human consumption.
So basically what you're saying is one way of tackling drought is to store the water and use it intelligently later on.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And a great example of this would be fire prevention. And here ViaCon also offers a viable solution. Our products can be used to store water for firefighting needs, and even in remote areas. Since these solutions are embedded in the ground, water loss by evaporating is reduced to a minimum and ensuring maximum usage of the tank itself. In this picture, you can see a ViaCon fire water tank used for firefighting. It is made out of polymer-coated steel to maximize the design life, and is also equipped with various accessories. Climate change is forcing us to be more efficient with our water usage. Using stored water to prevent fires is just one example, but reusing rainwater can come in many forms.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You could use rainwater for flushing toilets, or as you mentioned, in a factory. So it's a versatile product that we should reuse. But one thing that I think we should mention, Tony, is the fact that with droughts, groundwater levels have diminished on the planet, which is obviously a serious problem.
Yeah, it is. That is a serious issue, especially in large cities. Groundwater levels can be maintained with infiltration tanks. And these type of tanks have a perforated body with small holes in it to allow for the collected water to enter the environment directly. And the size and the number of holes controls at which rate the water is introduced into the ground. And infiltration tanks are especially useful in maintaining like urban parks, nature reserves, and agriculture land.
But then what about flooding? Can these infiltration tanks also be used to prevent water damage?
Sure, Frida. Flash flooding can be controlled by retention tanks, also known as detention tanks. These type of systems are like a flow control structure used to store rainwater for short periods of time. This water is then released into the water flow system at a controlled rate, therefore preventing overutilization of the sewage network. And retention tanks are often used in heavy commercial areas like storage facilities, where large amount of water needs to be collected.
Yeah, I mean, flash flooding is, in fact, a very serious issue. Storm surges affect millions of people every year and cause billions of dollars of damage to our economy. And in fact, a new study estimates that about 23% of our global population will experience at least one flood with 50 centimeters of water in their lifetimes. And researchers also found that about 12% of our global GDP in 2020 was located in areas exposed to severe flooding. So, I mean, these retention tanks that Tony just mentioned, they act as a buffer to significantly reduce monetary and environmental costs associated with flash flooding.
It sounds like a great product. I imagine that rainwater can pick up the pollutions on the way down from the sky to the ground. So how do we deal with this?
Well, Frida, we need to filter the water before it enters the ground. And for this purpose, we offer sand and oil separators, which are designed to collect and separate harmful substances from the wastewater flow. And as you see here in the picture, water collected from buildings and paved areas enter the sand and oil separator. And then the chamber technology within the tank ensures that the contaminants are separated and the clean water then flows through the outlet and into the water flow system.
That is really interesting. Thank you, both of you. Do you have any last words for the audience?
Yes, absolutely, Frida. I would just like to add that we as ViaCon, we fully customize our products. And because of this, we deliver the optimal solution every time and consider factors such as water treatment, as Tony just mentioned, but also space at the job site, which is often very limited, and of course, carbon footprint, which is a huge issue. Water is humankind's greatest asset, and we should use it responsibly.
Totally agree. So thank you, Esam and Tony. So if that is all about how ViaCon handles water management related challenges in a responsible way, I would like to invite Ida and Adam to join the discussion here with me. Welcome both.
Hello.
Thank you, Frida.
Ida, I actually would like to start with you. Why is sustainability so important for the constructions of bridges and culverts?
Sustainability is the key word of 21st century, and we believe that sustainable way of thinking must define every one of our actions, including well-being of society and business. World's population is also growing, and it is expected to grow by 33% by 2050, and that is leading for a need for more construction just to keep up with the global population growth. Our bridges and culvert solutions are not only reliable and long-lasting, but are also designed to adapt to a need of such changing world.
So what are then the ViaCon sustainability goals?
ViaCon Group has strong governance when it comes to sustainability and circular economy goals. The vital sustainable goals that we are delivering is first, construction is more energy efficient throughout the life cycle of the project. It means that performance attributes of soil steel bridges as a modular product offer many advantages over conventional concrete applications in the road, railway, and other industries. Soil steel bridges are at least 4 times faster to build, and compared to conventional solutions, at the same time, we are more energy and cost efficient without ever compromising on the quality. And secondly, we are facilitating more rational waste management. Soil steel bridges are components of only 2 materials, soil and steel, and both of these materials are reusable. And third, we are moving construction needle towards sustainability and circular economy. We aspire to deliver solutions of bridges and culverts which not only serve their basic purpose, but are also example of excellence. They are aesthetically pleasing and constructed consciously, considering emission of CO2 and other environmental indicators, with the confidence of meeting a safer, better, and more sustainable environment, which connects people.
Adam, let's bring you into this discussion. How can ViaCon monitor its sustainability goals within the civil engineering industry?
Well, sometimes we can see that something is wrong with the climate from our own observation, but we can learn how serious is the problem thanks to measurements. So we need to do the same with monitoring our goals. we need to measure our influence on the environment using the most important environmental indicators. And also we can use well-known life cycle analysis method. Firstly, we can measure our impact as manufacturer. Secondly, we can estimate the environmental impact of ready-made bridge or culvert with use of our product and compare it with alternative conventional solution. As a manufacturer, we went through certification process to receive environmental product declaration, so-called EPD, for our production units in Europe. Having initial values in this certificate, we can work to improve them through actions like, for instance, energy savings, increasing the usage of green energy, or improving waste material consumption for reproduction cycle.
So from an environmental impact perspective, how can we compare ViaCon bridges and culverts solutions with other, you would say, more conventional solutions?
To be able to do a comparison between different solutions for bridges and culverts, we need to turn to research institutes that dealing with environmental impact. One of the good examples could be a report done in 2020 by Canadian Corrugated Steel Pipe Institute, which shows an environmental difference between corrugated steel pipes and concrete pipes. The study concludes that applications with corrugated steel pipes for culverts reduce more than 70% CO2 emission compared to concrete pipes for culverts. We can do similar comparison also for bridges. Our soil steel bridges, also known as a corrugated steel bridges that ViaCon propose, can be compared with conventional reinforced concrete bridges. This comparison can be based on EPD certificate, of course, and for instance also on EcoInvent, well-known database that provides market average values of environmental indicators for products in civil engineering. At this moment, we are doing such comparative analysis in more than 20 countries in Europe.
So what are the conclusions of this comparative analysis?
The result for today shows that soil steel bridge option on average reduce more than 60% emission and save more than 50% energy compared to conventional reinforced concrete bridge option. You can see example of such result on the graph. This is analysis done for randomly selected bridge. Result for soil steel bridge are shown in green, and result from reinforced concrete bridge are shown in gray. This big difference in CO2 footprint and energy consumption we already see on the first stages of LCA, from raw material supply stage, manufacturing stage, until the construction stage. If you will take into consideration next stages of LCA, like maintenance, that soil steel bridge solution usually doesn't require any maintenance, and end of life stage, bearing in mind that soil steel bridge solution uses materials that can be recycled and reusable, like Ida said before, the reduction of CO2 emission energy saving is even bigger when using the soil steel bridge solution.
So that brings up the question, can construction be sustainable?
It's a bit tricky question, Frida. But let me define it and explain. Sustainable construction means using renewable and recyclable materials in building projects, and at the same time reducing energy consumption and waste production. So the primary goal of a sustainable construction method is to reduce its impact on our environment, as Adam was just mentioning. We are all imagining a world with zero CO2 emissions. And the truth is there is huge room for improvement in the construction industry. ViaCon Group is following steps towards decarbonization and sustainable construction. Our solutions are designed to minimize CO2 emissions and with minimum disturbance of the traffic on the work site, hence handling negative effects on both our environment and society. With our solutions of soil steel bridges, we are supporting our stakeholders and our clients. One step on the way in reaching also their vital sustainable goals.
So I take that as a yes. Thank you both. And with that, I would like to invite Matthias back in the sofa. So Matthias, what other key takeaways do you find most compelling of today's session?
I agree with these points, but I would add that we must reach the Paris Agreement to avoid the tipping point where everything will escalate further. It's big words and may sound overly dramatic to some, but we do have a planet to save. The science is united, and there is simply no other option. Every organization needs a clear, sustainable agenda to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Secondly, ViaCon solutions are designed and customized to address many environmental and climate-related challenges, and we want nothing else than interact with others in dealing with this. Alone, we fall short, but together we are strong. Both ViaCon, our customers, and other stakeholders in the infrastructure sector have a key role to play. Constructing a circular economy with a long-term outlook is a true balancing act, and ViaCon is at the forefront at forging.
Thank you, Matthias. I think that was a really good summary of this session.
Thank you.
So I would like to say thank you to all our guests today, both Essam, Ida, Adam, and Tony, and of course you, Matthias, and open up now for the Q&A session.
My name is Soumya Arora, and I am responsible for external marketing communication at ViaCon Group. I will be moderating this Q&A section of this webinar today. Before I dive into the questions, I would actually like to thank you all for being a brilliant audience today and for joining us. And if you have not already posted your question, I would encourage you to please do so. Please post your questions in the chat function. We will try to address as many questions as time permits, but any remaining questions that we are unable to answer today will be answered and available to you through ViaCon Academy, our knowledge hub, later this week. And with that, let us dive into the questions then. So I see the first question. You mentioned that fire prevention tanks can be used in remote areas. How exactly would that work? That is a question for you, Tony, I believe.
Yes, I can take that one. In remote areas, there might be a problem with the water supply. So then you can have a tank made by us and installed at such sites. And then the tank can act as a buffer that gets filled with water from water trucks. So if there is a fire, then you have a water buffer on site that can be used to prevent it. And this is often the case in nature preserves where forest fires could break out during dry periods. And then the tank is like a protection there for the environment and for the fire itself.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Let's move on to the next question then. So we got this question. We are currently working on fire hydrant tanks. I would like to ask if you have an operating rainwater harvesting system, and can we offer this as points towards a carbon neutral footprint? I believe, Essam, you can take that question.
Yes, Soumya, thank you. I can. It's a good question with two answers, yes and no, and I'll explain what I mean. So our tanks are fully customizable. So yes, we do in that sense have a rainwater harvesting system. The environmental production declaration, which Adam highlighted earlier, considers 5 aspects of our products. And these are the sourcing of raw materials, the production, the transportation of the product, the actual usage of the product, and the end of life, so the recycling of the product. And all these stages could ideally be quantified into carbon footprint emissions. So if you're looking at a product, just as a product itself, producing the product, and transporting it, then yes, we can contribute to carbon reduced footprint. But if you're looking at the actual usage of the product here, unfortunately, there's very little data. This is not something that comes back to ViaCon, but just generally speaking, measuring carbon emissions for the usage of certain products is just not there yet. I mean, there's this thing called carbon accounting right now, which is up and coming, and it's just a matter of time until we can measure carbon emissions for the usage of a product, but we're just not there yet. However, the regulations are changing, the technology is changing, so it's just a matter of time until products such as ours, but also other products, can be measured in that sense.
Great, thank you. Let's move on to the next question then. So how can carbon dioxide emissions be reduced for soil steel bridge solution in relation to the current efficiency? Ida, perhaps you could take that.
Yes. As we just discussed, we are ensuring and bringing far cleaner solutions into the infrastructural projects already compared to conventional solutions. And our solutions are more energy efficient and more sustainable as we are providing a lower emission of CO2. But in addition to the current efficiency, we can say it is like ViaCon is also taking step forward to build a more sustainable steel value chain by joining a Steel Zero initiative. Steel Zero is a global initiative where we commit to sourcing and producing 100% net zero steel by 2050, and by 2030, at least 50% of produced or sourced steel must be produced on specific science-based. So CO2 reduction conditions that contributing to the global net zero steel. So we are optimizing the production and sourcing of raw material to reduce emission as well.
Thank you, Ida.
Perhaps
Yes,
I can add
Matthias.
on a little bit to that, because I completely agree with everything that Ida said. What we also are doing in ViaCon, of course, we're also working with our own manufacturing and working on, for instance, electricity and fuel consumption and other things as well. But what is interesting to see how much reduction we have been doing the last year ourselves. So we can witness that CO2 emission for fuel, for instance, has been decreased in ViaCon's own production by 10%, and we actually are reducing CO2 emissions from electricity by 30% the last year. So it's we are on a very interesting journey also internally to make sure that we also walk the talk. If you compare to what we also promise our customers when it comes to the solutions.
Great addition that, Matthias. Thank you. Moving on to the next question then. How difficult is it to maintain sand and oil separators? Perhaps SM, you can answer that.
Sorry, I just had to unmute myself. Yeah, sure, Soumya.
Yes.
They're in fact very, very easy to inspect and maintain. So our not only sand and oil separators, but our stormwater tanks in general can be fitted with a manhole, which goes up to ground level. For obvious reasons, this manhole, a person can go inside, so anybody can open the manhole, go inside with a flashlight, see if everything's okay, see if it needs to be cleaned. And if it does need to be cleaned, no real specialized equipment is necessary. All you need is a suction truck and a hose, and then just to carry off the oil and the sand that you find inside. So it is very simple to maintain and to inspect. We recommend annual inspections. But of course, this is dependent on not only the site conditions, but the usage, and as well as if there are any local regulations.
Great. Thank you, SM. With that, let's move on to the next question that is coming up. Are there any countries or road authorities that put any requirements for carbon dioxide emission for their infrastructure investments? Adam, I suppose that is a question for you.
Yes, thank you. I can answer this.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, of course. We see more and more inquiries related to CO2 emission per project or even per solution for a bridge or culvert. Some road administrations and also railway administrations in the few countries already invented some CO2 or more generic greenhouse gases calculation tools to measure solution on design stage and also on execution construction stage. We also observe that issue with more clear regulations is under discussion almost everywhere in infrastructure authorities. So I believe that the regulation related to carbon footprint for the bridges and culvert solutions is coming soon.
That is great. Thank you, Adam, for that information. Let's move on then to the next question, which is, how long is the design life of steel water tanks? And I think that's a question for you, Tony.
Okay, I will try to answer that question. I mean, the service life of a tank is depending on the worksite environment overall and the conditions, and also the choice of the material of the tank itself. And normally the requested design life for a tank is 40 to 80 years. And then we build the tank according to those specifications. But we can even build the tanks for longer design life if that is needed. I mean, we have several different materials and thicknesses that we can manufacture the tank in and adapt it to the conditions needed for loads, soil conditions, and design life. So, and by being able to choose the right material for the right environment, then we can reduce the amount of material being used and save on the environment itself.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Then I suppose this is a question for Adam. What does ViaCon do to decrease carbon dioxide emission of its products and solutions? Adam?
Yes, partially we answered these questions already, but let me summarize. First, we need to focus on the proper design. So we in ViaCon we are developing design tools to be to design optimally, especially for bigger span structures. That is still quite a big challenge. Usually we use for this numerical analysis. And we also continue something what we are doing a long time already, in situ tests, to be able to compare theoretical results with the in situ test results, to calibrate bearing capacity calculations, to be able to design optimally, to avoid oversized design, and in the same time to keep proper safety factor, of course. So this is the first point. And the second point, of course, the raw material, which we already said, we can use the raw material which generate lower carbon footprint for our design and later in the execution. And also in manufacturing stage, we can use more green energy when we do this. So that these 3 points cover this answer.
Thank you, Adam.
Perhaps maybe I can add a little. Of course, that's also what we do on ourselves. We're focusing on our own emissions. We are also working hard to work with our own suppliers and our own value chain, of course, to make sure that we are all supporting the customer offering that we have. And that goes exactly with raw materials and coatings and transportation, as Adam was alluding to.
Great point again, Matthias. Thank you. Next question then. You spoke about infiltration tanks and how the number and size of holes determines the discharge rate. Does ViaCon provide a design service that determines the optimal design? Sam, could you take that, please?
Sure, Soumya. So yes, absolutely. We provide a design service. It is a daunting task. I mean, there's a lot of variables to consider. So we do not leave our customers alone. In fact, we work very closely with our customers to find the most optimal solution for their situation. As I mentioned earlier, we fully customize our products. So we look at variables such as the site specifications, the purpose of the water collected, and also the environmental situation. And in fact, we recently worked with a golf course operator who required or who wanted to use rainwater in order to how do you call it, to keep his golf course green. And by developing a solution together, we were able to ultimately reduce his annual costs by 30,000 euros. So, and this could have only happened through a really close collaboration. So in short, yes, we do provide a design service.
That is great. Thank you, Essam. Let's now see the next question. Is there a limitation to the size of the water tanks? Tony, perhaps you can answer that.
Yes, I can do that. And no, there is no real limitations in how big tanks we can build. So, I mean, if there is a large enough footprint to work with, then we can build the tanks in segments and send it to the work site. And on the work site, we assemble it to a whole structure. So this means that it's like we can build the system as big as needed. However, we have a limitation in size of diameter, but not in system size in cubic meters.
Thank you, Tony, for that. On to the next question then. We've got two main tools in the UK to measure embodied carbon for construction structures, which give us the embodied carbon per material, plus some degree of metrics for maintenance. Steel has pretty high embodied carbon compared to concrete. We agree, steel is more easily recyclable. But how can we measure this benefit? Adam?
Yes, I can try to answer this question. It's a quite complex methodology how to measure this benefit coming from recycle. Until now, we invented a calculator that can measure comparison between soil steel bridges with concrete bridges, with stages starting from raw material, manufacturing, and installation. Next step in our idea, in our vision, is to include also maintenance and recycle in the end of the life. For now, I can say that, of course, steel per kilo, let's say, generate more CO2 than concrete. But in soil steel bridge solution, we use like more than 10 times less material compare what is needed with the structure of concrete. So this is the benefit from the usage of the mass. And then later, we of course can imagine that in the end of life, when we need to replace the bridge, we can completely use the steel again to build another bridge from the same steel. So this is another benefit that, of course, we need to measure somehow. There are some numbers in EPD certificate that we can use to develop this calculator that we already prepared. So the author of this question, I invite for a contact for the future to share more information about this.
Thank you, Adam. But I think I would like to invite Matthias to comment on this question as well.
I can just make a quick, great question, by the way, and thank you, Adam, for clarifying. What I also think think just to top up here with a general comment is, of course, we have to work with what Adam previously mentioned, that we have to work with independent institute, research institute as well to set up how the measurement models should work and how we should design those. So we're looking forward to working with those and defining the calculators in the best way, so we can, all of us in the market, serve our customers in the absolute best way, also on these measurements.
Thank you, Matthias.
Thank you.
With that, we've actually come close to the finishing time. And before we wrap up, I would like to request our presenters from today to please share any final reflections or comments that they might have. And Adam, I would like to start with you.
I invite everybody who wants to know more about how we measure carbon footprint and compare it with alternative solutions. So we can share this, what we prepared, the calculator, and we already collected a database from more than 20 countries in Europe that we show what is the result of this comparison. So I will be happy to share with someone who will be interested in this.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Ida, can we come to you?
Yes, I would just like to thank everyone for attending this meeting.
Thank you, Ida. May we now come to you, Essam?
Sure, Soumya, thank you. There was one question that we, I think, overlooked in the chat.
Yes.
So I'd like to use that question to support my closing statement.
Sure.
I'll read the question first.
Yes, please.
As we already produce attenuation tanks, are there any plans to produce sewage treatment tanks in the future so we can offer a larger solution? I mean, absolutely. We, as I mentioned twice before, we custom make our tanks. So if there is a need in the market, we will definitely try our best to address it. Rainwater harvesting it's trending, it's up and coming, it's going to become more important in the future, and especially to protect our environment. So please, if you see any needs or any demands from the market, please contact your local sales representative. We would love to help you and love to collaborate with you. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and I wish you a great day.
Thank you, Essam. Moving over to you now, Tony. Any final reflections or comments for the audience?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for attending today, and hopefully you get the chance to learn something, hopefully.
Yes, we all hope that.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Tony. And finally, Matthias, any reflections or comments for the audience?
Thank you, Soumya. Yeah, I also saw some comments or question really from Marius that I was reflecting on here. You brought up the Paris Agreement. What is ViaCon doing regarding the carbon footprint resulting from the use of steel? And what does ViaCon do for the headquarters in each country to be more eco-friendly? It's quite some big questions. But of course, we have what I can call it a holistic program when it comes to ESG. And we alluded to it a little bit before here on focusing on the whole supply chain. And of course, we realize that when it comes to steel, there is a lot also emissions related to the raw material as such. And we spend a lot of time working with our suppliers to ensure that we are also working on that. And we also are seeing that there are new products coming in the market in terms of green steel and different types of versions of that. So that's interesting. When it comes to the headquarters in each country, we do a lot, and some things are perhaps too small to be mentioned. We are working with LED lights, and we are working with everything from waste to car policies and trying to convert the car fleets to we have electricity forklifts coming in, and we are looking into some kind of solar panels for factories, and yeah, the list is pretty long, but I think we cannot do too much here. We have a huge responsibility for our customers, our stakeholders, but to ourselves really. We all have families, and we have children that are supposed to live a little bit longer than us in this generation, and that's a huge responsibility, I think. So we are doing everything we can. So I'm really happy to be able to join in for this discussion here, and I hope you experience it as a good spend time, and thank you for all the great questions as well. So with that, I wish you a continuing great day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias, and thank you all the other colleagues for giving your reflections right now. So this brings us to the close of the Q&A session. But before we wrap up the entire session for today, I would actually like to thank you again from ViaCon Group for joining us. And we would love to get your feedback so we can improve and we can bring you even better content in the future. So please take a few minutes to give us your feedback, and you can find the link to a feedback form in the chat function. So great if you can please take some time to leave your comments for us. Today's webinar and the Q&A questions and answers will be available to you on ViaCon Academy, our knowledge hub, during this week sometime. And please follow us on LinkedIn for all the recent goings on and updates. And bye and take care.